Okay everybody, I've just installed my new K&N cold air intake on my 2019 Dodge Durango. This type of intake will work on any Dodge Durango or Jeep Grand Cherokee 2011 to 2021. So if you have models that fit in that range, this is the video for you. I ask you up front, if this is helpful to you, please like and subscribe. The more of that I get, the more videos I can do for you. So I really appreciate that. There's lots of Nissan Titan, Chevy Camaro, Dodge Durango videos, and I'm always looking to add more. So here we go. When you open the hood, you're going to see something that looks like this. This is the upper air box, and then here it is into the throttle body right here. You're going to remove this breather tube. You're going to unclip the air box. There's a single bolt here holding it, and then there's a clamp on the throttle body. And then there's an airflow sensor here, and that's where, kind of like a mass airflow sensor. Carefully remove that, being real careful not to break it. I noticed that was an extra sensitive part of the process. Once you have all that unhooked, that should lift out. Keeping in mind that before I started that, I took the engine cover off. In my case, I like to leave them off, kind of like the way the motor sounds with it off. But if you like the look or the sound, you can leave yours off also. So once you've removed that big stock air box, you'll still have a lower air box here, and you'll have kind of a snorkel looking piece that fits in right there. That sucks in air for the stock air box. It fits right there. So once you're looking at that, you'll have the lower air box here. It's got some rubber grommets that fit on these feet here. You want to be really careful to wiggle it off of those, because you're going to reuse those grommets on the heat shield here, and you don't want to break those. So take those pieces off, and at that point you'll have a nice clean engine here ready to be reinstalled with your cold air intake. So at that point you'll take your heat shield, you'll install it here, like I said, reusing the rubber grommets onto the same post that the stock one was installed on. There's a bit of wrapping here that goes around the heat shield to protect your hood and your strut tower and that type of thing. You will install the air filter. Keep in mind these will last about 10,000 miles. They need to be cleaned and re-oiled. There's kits you can buy that allow you to do that. And there's a worm clamp that holds that on. This whole piece here is going to fit into a housing that is screwed in right there on both sides. And that housing will also attach to this rubber boot, along with your intake tube and another rubber boot. And there are 4 worm clamps that go along with that. So get that all kind of loosely installed, make sure that it's fitting right for you, and then tighten down these clamps. Probably want to give it a couple hundred miles and check them to make sure they're still tight. I've incidentally taken this on a road trip. Everything's still pretty tight, so check and make sure that it worked for you. Once you see this sitting the way it is, you have a new breather tube here. You can see running into the engine here. That mass airflow sensor I talked about installs here into a rubber boot. The original connector is not long enough to reach, so K&N sent you 2 different connectors. Make sure you pick the right one and extend that. I put a little dielectric grease on there just to be sure, and then carefully install that sensor, being careful not to break it. And finally, if you have a Dodge Durango with the more aggressive hood with the breathable vents, this is important because this vent here will drain water directly onto your air filter if allowed to. K&N has provided this metal plate here that screws in. It has 2 little drain holes here that when the hood is down, water will run away from your filter and land somewhere in this region of the car. So you're really not removing all the possible moisture inlet, but realistically driving fast, not a lot is going to get in, and parked, it's going to run away from the filter. So if you have this hood on your Durango, make sure you install that plate there. But at that point you should be able to start it up. The computer will learn a bit about this new setup, and in my case I'm getting 2 mile a gallon better gas mileage, so eventually this filter will pay for itself, at least until I do a cam or some other things that erode those gains. But for now, it has a lot of butt fill to it. The throttle feels crisper, and K&N claims on a 2011 Jeep Grand Cherokee they got 17 horsepower increase on this deal. I can't tell you the horsepower numbers on mine, but I can tell you it feels quite a bit better. So there you go. If you're installing a cold air intake on your 2011 through 2021 Dodge Durango or Jeep Grand Cherokee, this is how you'll do it. This is the K&N kit, but there's many kits like it. Very similar theory to the setup. If you have questions, please comment. If you have friends that have a Dodge Durango or a Jeep Grand Cherokee, please share it with them. Like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And most of all, have fun. Thank you, everyone.